My son got an F, and here's what I did. Hey, I Shine Bright family. I am so glad that you're here. Please make sure to share this illuminating, inspiring, engaging, and motivating content with all of your friends and family so that you can all be enjoying this, talking about it, sharing, and learning at the same time. And when you guys start talking, I'm sure you'll come up with even better ideas, which I would love to hear. Make sure to subscribe, like, leave me any comments below. I do make sure to respond to each and every one of them. I love having you here. So let me tell you about this event that took place. My son came home and told me about this poetry assignment that he had. He's not a huge fan of English class and poetry. Well, he wasn't really looking forward to that, but he knew that it's part of the drill. You got to go through it. It's all the thing. And I said, here's an opportunity for you to start getting creative. They have been very structured in what they do as far as the organization of their paragraphs and their sentences. The introduction has to link to the conclusion, the body of the paragraph, all of the things. And so I said, well, here with poetry, you'll at least have more of an opportunity to be creative. Poetry is an art, and yes, there are sequential things that go on, and there is a certain structure, but it's much more creative. So enjoy that. So I thought, okay, I'm down. So they got their first poetry assignment, and they were to craft a poem. Very few other rules around that. So he decided to be very artistic in his poetry. To the common 40-year-old English teacher, 50-year-old English teacher, 60-year-old English teacher, maybe they didn't see the creativity behind it, but when he read it to his classmates, they all loved it. You get what I'm throwing down? There was no vulgarity, nothing like that. It was just very artful language and the sequence of words were very interesting. It's not something that you and I would see in a poetry book when we picked up. So his teacher said, you have to redo it. And he said, but I followed the rules and you asked me to write a poem and I wrote a poem. And she said, I'm giving you the opportunity to redo it. When you submit it, you're going to receive a lower grade because you didn't do it on time, but I'll accept it. And he came to me that night and he said, this is what she said. And I said, well, did you follow all the rules? And he said, yes. And he showed me the rules. I looked at the poem. In fact, he did follow the rules. He was very adamant, very prideful in what he did. And so I knew that the English teacher wasn't going to be happy. He knew the English teacher wasn't going to be happy. This was not a pissing contest just to, for power's sake. He stood in his convictions. He said, she asked me to write a poem. I followed the rules. I wrote the poem. Many of my classmates enjoyed the poem. He showed it to another teacher who said, that is poetry. And so he did not redo the assignment. He once again submitted the assignment that he had completed. He got an F. The moral of the story here is he learned more about himself, about his convictions and his values, and about the system with that assignment. That is the greatest lesson that we want for our children, right? We want them to be able to interpret the information, understand the rules and the boundaries, be able to form their own opinion, be able to articulate their opinion and their rationale logically in accordance with the rules, and then act accordingly. This is how our children discover who they are. This is where their values come from. This is where their conviction comes from. Was I upset about the F? Yes. I was more upset about it from the perspective of, really? The teacher? And he said, I followed the rules, and he outlined to her, here are the rules, I followed the rules. Here is my artful piece of poetry. She wasn't budging. And so I applaud my son. I said, the F sucks. It is going to affect your GPA, but that is not what this is all about. This is about you learning, and you learned who you were. This is one of the greatest gifts that we as parents get, is when we can see our kids actually come into their own. We know that we have done our job, that they are not conforming, they are not going to be just a willow in the wind, that they are standing up for their convictions, they know what their beliefs are. They're open to hearing, they're open to looking at the rules and saying, I do fit within the rules. I'm not breaking any rules here. Maybe some arbitrary rule, but the rules as they've been outlined to me, I am following. So I applaud my son. I am proud of what he has done. And so he's got an F. And he's wearing it with pride. Maybe not pride, because he was still upset about it, but more disappointed from her perspective. So I would love to hear if any of you have had experiences like this, or experiences that this makes you think of that, maybe if this happens up again another time, I might have a different perspective to understand and to look at it through. Again, if he had been like totally going off the cuff and, screw her, she's just blah, 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 and just going off just because, it would have been a different story. But this was him standing for what he believed. This is him standing in his convictions. This was him following the rules and being fine with the consequences. I'm super proud of him. If you have any other proud mama moments, please share them in the comments. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to hit subscribe. Share this with your friends. Bookmark this so that when and if that ever happens to you again, you can come back to this and say, oh yeah, what'd she do? What'd she say? What kinds of questions should I be asking to make sure that my kid is good with this? How can I find out more about their convictions, their values, their beliefs? I'm here for you. I'll talk to you soon. All my best. Keep shining bright.